the families served by Children's Home and Aid have really benefited from the corporate philanthropy at BMO. You guys have given generously both of your time, both of your treasure, of your employees, and of your expertise. I mean, you have supported us during the holidays, during back to school, and just again, in general, supporting the organization to continue the work that we do each and every day out in the communities. And I think that that spirit of, it's not just the bank cuts us a check and then we go on our merry way. It's this really deeply ingrained in the people at BMOHarris Bank. And I think that doesn't come accidentally, right? I think that has to come with some level of intentionality. So would love to just hear your perspective on how has BMO found this rich, diverse group of employees to really carry out what you guys are hoping to accomplish?
I really, once again, want to thank you for the partnership because it is important for us to think about those public-private partnerships that will help us to come out of this crisis. And as I think about philanthropy, philanthropy has evolved, at least for us, beyond simply buying a table at a gala or for an event, to making sure that you're developing long-term partnerships so that you can invest in the programmatic side of the organization to really make sure that you're, again, investing directly in the communities that need it the most. The work and the service that you're providing in terms of just families here in Chicago, the reputation, the history is so rich. But right now, we see the need being that much greater as we come through an economic crisis, as we come through the crisis around our racial and social equity, as we think about the health disparities that exist. We know that organizations like yours are at the front line of what you do and what you do best. And so we have to make sure that we're able to not only provide the financial capital, but the intellectual capital. So our employees enjoy the opportunity to come out and volunteer and work closely hand in hand with organizations like yours, but to make sure that we can do it in a way that allows us to really give back and to, again, our mission to boldly grow the good.
So when you look into the future and you look out maybe 10 years from now, what do you hope to see as the impact that BMO's investments and efforts around racial and social equity is having? What might look different if I worked at BMO? What might look different in the communities that surround your offices? And I'm going to take it one step further and say, what are you guys willing to do to ensure that vision becomes a reality?
So one of the things that we recognized that has been part of the structural barriers is the access to capital that has been denied to minorities and women. So when I joined the bank, one of the first things that my CEO asked me to do was to think about ways that we could really address that from a business standpoint. So I worked with our leadership team to launch a new initiative called BMO Empower, which is a $5 billion 5-year commitment that we've made to helping to promote inclusive economic recovery. We're doing that by focusing on ways that we can provide additional access to capital as well as direct investment in areas like community redevelopment and neighborhood revitalization, areas like supporting small businesses. We're also doing it by looking at ways that we can use our own purchasing power as a major financial institution to say, how can we promote supplier diversity in a more robust way? So we've put targets in place to say that we want to spend annually $400 million across North America with diverse suppliers as part of our own purchasing power and supply chain. And I think that that's how, again, you get back to an inclusive economic recovery, is by making sure that there's a level playing ground for the large companies, the small companies, the minority companies that will be given a chance to become the large Apple or Facebook. And you do that by making sure that you're lending to them and that you're investing in them. When I think about investing, one of the things that we're doing that's different is that part of BMO Empower is that we launched a social impact fund to invest in private equity and venture capital firms. We made our first investment in a new $100 million fund called Cast Us, which was launched by Don and Liz Thompson, the former CEO from McDonald's. And we recognize that for far too long, too many minority and women-owned businesses have not had access to equity capital in order to grow their businesses. So as a result, we no longer have a large pipeline of Johnson Publishings or Ariel investments coming up through our business. We used to have Softsheen and you name it. Chicago was the headquarters for major black-owned businesses. We recognize that we have to get back to having that sort of pipeline of companies that we're investing in as part of our future. Those businesses are the ones that create job opportunities for the kids here in Chicago. And so we want to make sure that as we think about the strategies, the business practices, the way that we're aligning our business with philanthropy, that we're also thinking about what the outcomes will be. So I think about the future, what that looks like for me is that a kid growing up on the south side of Chicago will have just as much opportunity as a child on the Gold Coast. It will mean that we'll look across our city and our country, and we'll see companies having opportunities to grow and to become minority-owned and women-owned businesses that are part of the Fortune 500 list. It means that we will have economic equity in terms of closing the racial wealth gap. It means that we'll have job opportunities where people can put in a resume and they will not necessarily care whether your name is John or whether it's Tyrone, but there will be a fair and equal opportunity. It means that when we walk down the street that we don't have to worry about whether or not we're safe in our communities. It means that we'll have a trusting relationship with our local police departments and with our law officials. It means that the left and the right will talk to each other and that we'll find that we have more in common than that separates us or that divides us. And I'm optimistic as we've come through so many challenges throughout our history. We've always been resilient and we've always come through it and we've come out better and stronger. And I'm certain that as we come through this crisis that we will do just the same.
I think that's an amazing vision, and it's one that I definitely share. And I wonder if I can ask you one final personal question. What do you think it's going to take to achieve that? I think the investment that BMO is making and is amazing. It is absolutely outstanding for our community, and I think Chicago is going to be incredibly better off for your leadership here. And I'm very aware that not any single entity, not you guys, not Children's Home and Aid, can accomplish this on our own. So, if you were to say to our audience, it's the premise of this whole event, what's it going to take to truly create and have that vision that you just beautifully laid out?
I think what it really will require is a sense of unity and coming together. And I think you are able to foster that through leadership. Leadership in Washington, leadership in Springfield and here in City Hall, but also leadership in terms of the public-private partnerships. And so the opportunity for BMO to partner with Children's Home and Aid and the leadership that you're providing in the community, serving those needs that are so critical to families and communities is really what is most important. And I think that sense of unity will also inspire a sense of optimism for the future. We have to get back to being proud of who we are as a people and recognizing that our future lies with our children, and making the investment in children's and families is the most important treasure that I see. As a bank, we always think about our assets. And I think our biggest assets right now are the bright futures of our kids, and we have to make sure that we're investing in their future.